Well, good morning, good morning, good morning. This is your pastor, Bishop R.C. Blakes Jr. Guess you could see that written all over my face, huh? And I pray that you are doing amazingly today. Please, please, please invite some others to come in and to be a part of our time in the Word of God today. I want to deal with something today that I brought to the leaders of the Family of Churches Fellowship International this Saturday on our monthly Zoom call. If you are a pastor or a church leader of any kind, and you're looking for a fellowship that can cover you, FOCFI is the organization that I oversee and shepherd over. And we meet by Zoom once a month where I pour into the lives of leaders. But I want to share with you, the body, what I shared with them, and what I want to call this today is just stop it. That's the title of this message today. Just stop it. If you go to Psalm number 46 and verse 10, it says, "Be still and know that I am God." Now, if you put that in our modern vernacular, just stop it. You're doing too much. Chill out. Sit back and see that I am God. There are many of you that I'm talking to right now. You're stressed. You're full of anxieties. You're at your wit's end because you're doing too much. And I'm here to say, just stop it. You're overly active. You know, you try to compensate for your lack of self-esteem with more accomplishment. And you're just digging yourself emotionally into a deeper hole by continuing to pile on, thinking that busyness equals success. It does not. Sometimes busyness is the greatest mark of personal failure. Back about it, our theme for the leadership of FOCFI this year is maximizing your potential. And what I said to them is, this year we are going to do more, accomplish more by doing less. Because a lot of the things that we are doing are quite often things that God never ordained, things that are really not in our best interest. And in most cases, we need to just stop it. I forget who it was sharing this with me. I forget who it was. In fact, I know who it is now. Pastor Nathan Young, pastor of Community Church on the North Shore in Louisiana, Covington, Slidell, I forget the other city. Amazing ministry. He was telling me about, I think it's a book he was reading relative to the comments of a professional race car driver who was asked, what's the most important thing or the most important aspects of driving professionally? And everybody was waiting to hear about the speed and the spin outs and all of that. And the professional driver said was the thing that is most important to professional driving is learning to brake, learning to stop at the right time, learning to slow down at the right time, because if you don't learn to brake properly, it doesn't even matter that you're in the race, because in a lot of cases, you won't even get a chance to finish the race. And I think that that's a word for many of you who are running and running and running frantically, and you're finding one thing after another to do. I believe the Lord sent me here today to tell you, just stop it. Take a break. It's time for you to be still and to know that God is God. Now, there are 4 things that I've listed here. These are the very same points that I gave to the leaders, actually. Number 1, when you learn to stop, what it allows for, number 1, it allows for excellence over mediocrity. And I know that there are many of us who like to pride ourselves on the idea that we can do, I'm a multitasker. I can do 10 things at one time. And the reality is you may attempt 10 things at one time, but the reality is probably 9 of those things, if not all 10, are mediocre performances. Because if you got 10 things on your plate at one time, I submit to you that God probably didn't give you 8 of them. Maybe 9 God didn't give to you. 8 to 9 of those things are things that you allowed people to put on your plate, or 8 to 9 of those things are things that your vain ambitions picked up on. And so you're spread too thin to be excellent at anything. And maybe it's the very thing that God has called you to actually do that is suffering from your lack of focus, and your lack of focus comes from the fact that you are spread too thin because you're doing too much. And you need to just stop it. Because when you stop and you chill and you sit still, you allow for excellence over mediocrity. If you put aside all of these other things that were never your assignment, it is then that you can pour your all into the thing that God has really ordained for you this year. In Colossians chapter 3, verses 23 and 24, it says, whatever you do, this is the New International Version, it says, whatever you do, work at it with all your heart, as working for the Lord, not for human masters, since you know that you will receive an inheritance from the Lord as a reward. It is the Lord Christ you are serving. But he says, whatever you do, work at it with all your heart. You can't give all your heart to 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10 different things. Now, there are some things in life that are just, we got to do. We got to take care of the children. We got to take care of the spouses. We got to take care of the parents. But I'm talking about things that you elect to put your hands to. You see, God will grace you for the necessities, but the things you elect to put your hands to, you cannot give it your all if you spread out over. But when you look at this verse, it emphasizes the importance of striving for excellence in all endeavors, reflecting a commitment to quality rather than settling for mediocrity. I'd rather do one thing excellently than to claim to do 6 things at a mediocre level. My father, my late father, didn't buy clothes often. He would probably go to buy clothes maybe twice a year. sometimes just once a year, he would go and buy suits for his pastoral anniversary. But when he went to buy suits, though he did not buy them often, when he went to buy suits, he bought the very best. He bought quality over quantity. And watch this. The suits he bought 30 years ago, me and my brother are still wearing today. Now, do you want a life full of quantity that mediocre and doesn't last? Or would you rather a life of excellence that will not only last through your lifetime, but outlive you? That's the result of slowing your life down and cutting away at all of this overactivity and boiling your life down to the one or two things that God has really ordained for you. Number two, when you stop it, when you shut the busyness away, shut the busyness down, it allows for a balance between your goals and your quality of life. You see, right now, you're carried away with doing all of these things, and you're bragging about how you're a boss this and you're a boss that, and you have no quality of life. You don't have time for yourself. You don't have time for your family. Your vital relationships are failing because you don't have time. You're doing too much. You're all over the place. You're erratic in your own thinking. Your soul is disturbed. That's no quality of life. Just to say, well, I did this and I'm doing this and I'm doing that, and to poke your chest out like that, and you know that you're on the verge of a nervous breakdown because you can't even rest. That's no quality of life. Is that what you think God intended for you? Is that what you think the abundant life is? Just the accumulation of a bunch of stuff, utilizing all your time for things that really don't even matter in the grand scheme of things? No, man. When you slow your life down, you allow for a balance to happen between your goals and your quality of life. I want to be able to enjoy my success. It's not success if I can't enjoy it. It's not success if I can't enjoy it. Ecclesiastes 3:1 says, there's a time for everything and a season for every activity under the heavens. There's a time for this, there's a time for that. And you got to learn to do things within the schedule. You have to be aware of your capacity. And don't overrun yourself, because God wants you not only to hit your marks, God wants you to have a quality of life at the same time. Because life has different seasons. And you got to recognize what season you're in, right? And it's only when you learn to slow your life down, be still, and know that I am God. It's then that you can bring a balance between your goals and your quality of life. It's when you sit still that you realize that, a lot of this activity you got going on is just really a trauma response. You working all of these hours, you got all of these jobs, not even because you need all of that money. It's just that you're afraid of ever being in lack again. When you were a child, you didn't have enough, and so now you feel like the spirit of poverty and lack is just following you. And you don't realize that your overactivity, you don't even know your family. You're spending all your time working unnecessarily. You working, your wife working. You got more money than you need, but you say yes to every hour they offer you. You don't even realize that that's a trauma response. And it is robbing you of the quality of your life. You piling up all of this money that you don't even have time to spend. You don't even have time to enjoy it. You can't even go on vacation with the way you live in your life right now. What is the point of that? Number 3, I only have 4. Just stop it. That's all you need to do. Just stop it. Number 3, when you stop it, you slow your life down. You leave room for God to update the agenda. You know, I got my cell phone here, and every now and then this thing will say something like, you know, when you go to sleep tonight or cut your phone off or something like that, your phone will update. When you're inactive, in other words, when you're inactive, your phone will update to the most current version. Right? You cannot get God's download relative to where you are now in 2025 because you're too busy. You see, I was saying to the leaders, busyness is like a hive of bees. It's noisy. A busy life is noisy. And the voice of God is a whisper. So God is giving you instruction, but you can't hear it for the... You need to just stop it. You need to just stop it so that God can give you the update. Proverbs 16:9 says, in their hearts humans plan their course, but the Lord establishes their steps. You have a lot of plans. You've made a lot of plans. A lot of what you're doing now is your plan. Your plans even. But you have to wait on God to establish your steps. It ain't the will of God because you prayed about it and you fasted on it and you claimed it and you named it. It's the will of God because God spoke that to you. When's the last time you sought God? When's the last time you were still enough? When's the last time you were quiet enough to truly hear God's voice relative to what God requires of you now, today? Because when you look at Proverbs 16:9, it reminds us that while we may have our plans, it is ultimately God who directs our paths, encourages us to remain flexible, and it encourages us to be open to God's guidance. But you've been so busy, you've been so preoccupied with your agenda, one year is piled on top of another, that you've been doing your own thing without getting any updates from God. Is this ministering to anybody today? Is this ministering to anybody today? And then number 4, just stop it. Gives you space and time to change. Gives you space and time to change, because once you get the update from God, many times God is going to redirect your path, right? And you just need to take a break so that you can regroup and you can change. You know, it's kind of like an athlete that has to change directions. There's very few athletes that can change directions without losing speed or momentum. Most athletes got to stop and then change. And that's usually the case. You got to stop that you might change the direction you're going in. If you never stop, you don't give space for yourself to change. And if you don't change, nothing else changes. If you keep doing the same thing, you're going to always get the same thing you're presently getting. You got to give yourself space to change. And you do that by stopping, pulling away, taking a break, being still in the presence of God. Because Isaiah 43:19 reads like this. Again, this is the New International Version. It says, "See, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs up. Do you not perceive it? I am making a way in the wilderness and streams in the wasteland. You can't perceive it if you don't stop." Could it be that God has been attempting to do a new thing in your life, but you've been too busy to perceive it? And maybe it is that God has me come in here today saying to you, just stop it. Because this is your season to walk into greater. And your greater is going to come by way of your doing less and trusting God to do more. Just stop it. Now listen, if you're anywhere around Houston, Texas today, I want you to meet us for 11 a.m. In fact, if you can get there for 10 for prayer, do so. It's going to be a different service today. God changed things yesterday evening. Yeah, late yesterday evening, the Lord changed things. And we have an amazing prophetic gift that's going to be with us. It's going to be a prophetic service today. Prayer at 10 a.m. It's going to be a prophetic service at 11. Prophet Marcus Thomas, who's ministered for a few people that are very dear friends of mine, he's going to be with us at our New Home Houston location today. And this will be his first time at New Home. And I want you to be there because, I've been praying for God to send trusted prophetic voices that I can be comfortable with. And so he comes highly recommended by people that I respect greatly. And I want you, if you've been waiting on a prophetic move, a prophetic service, I want you to come and meet us today at 11 a.m., 4805 Shermire Road. It's going to bless you. Now, don't forget, next Sunday at our New Home Houston location, we are baptizing every person that desires to be baptized. But you need to register so we can make preparations for you. And if you utilize the QR code that's on the little flyer there, you can register and we can be prepared for you, but we are baptizing. It's Baptism Sunday. And I'd love for you to be a part of that next Sunday. I love you with all of my heart. Meet us today for 11 a.m. And don't forget to get ready to sow into the ministry today. Get ready to sow into the ministry today. Be a blessing today. And just know that I love you with all of my heart. See you at the top. God bless you. Until next time.